समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
There's a video floating around on the internet featuring the Red Fort suicide bomber Umar Un Nabi. Now, the video, I don't know if it's even a proper video, but it's certainly this guy talking into camera, talking about martyrdom and suicide bombing and stuff like that. It's not possibly a video he intended to be released. He sounds in the video a little bit like he's rehearsing ideas or he's talking to somebody, but certainly it's being taken on social media as his last message to the world. Now, there's a dispute about whether that video should be disseminated or not. There are broadly two schools of thought. One view is that you should ban the video because the guy is a terrorist, he's a suicide bomber. If you put his video out, you might inspire other suicide bombers. He may become a hero to them. This is all right in theory, but if you look at the video, I'm not sure you'll think he's any kind of hero or holy warrior. The other argument is that generally, when it comes to terrorists and the stuff they put out, never ever disseminated. After all, when ISIS sent out all those execution videos of hostages, whatever, American media, British media, international media, nobody showed them. The argument is that if you give these guys the oxygen of publicity, it only encourages more of them. Margaret Thatcher used that phrase, the oxygen of publicity, and it makes a certain amount of limited sense. Many of these people are drawn by the lust for personal glory. They want to be remembered as martyrs or whatever. When you make them famous by releasing their videos, the argument goes, in a sense, not only are you giving them what they wanted, you're encouraging other people to follow in their footsteps. For instance, you and I would never have heard of this guy, and here we are discussing him. So if he was looking for fame, he certainly got that. These are good arguments, and they're strong arguments, but there is also another side. And the other side is, in this day and age, you can't really censor anything. If this guy has made a video, if it's leaked, you can't really control how it's disseminated. It will be leaked on some other side, maybe on a jihadi website, somewhere or the other. So don't, as much as possible, restrict the flow of information. Don't ban things, don't suppress things, don't censor them. Because people will think then you have something to hide. Imagine if you heard or you read somewhere that he'd made a video which the government of India is not releasing. If you were of a conspiratorial bent of mind, you might think that there was an international conspiracy that he was part of and they're keeping quiet about it. Or you might think he said something so damaging to India that they were scared of letting him say it. So the second view is, yes, of course, you must restrict free speech sometimes when you're fighting terrorism. Do it as little as possible, only if absolutely necessary. Ultimately, transparency is the best weapon in this fight. Now, these are difficult arguments to adjudicate between, and both sides make strong cases. My own view, for what it's worth, is that this business of don't let the video be seen because he'll become a hero is a non-starter in this individual case, because if you see the video, he's no holy warrior. He's just a nutter. He's just a confused guy, a nutcase of some description. Anybody who's radicalized by watching his video or thinks he's a hero is already pretty radical or is a bit of a nutter. So I don't think it applies in this case. But that's the problem with all of this stuff. There are no hard and fast rules. When it comes to terrorists and transparency and media and dissemination of information, you have to go case by case. You have to decide what's right, what's wrong. In my case, this video has been out now for 2 days. It's actually made very little difference. Nobody has come and blown up somebody because they saw his videos. Many of us have seen the videos and said the guy is obviously disturbed. He's no holy warrior or anyone fighting injustice. Now, a couple of other things. One is that the terrorist caricature of themselves, which they say is that anybody who becomes a suicide bomber is somebody who's had no choice, who's suffered so much that he's willing to sacrifice his life. It's an argument used by many, many people. I've heard Imran Khan advance this argument in Delhi at a Hindustan Times summit, saying that if a man is ready to give up his life, can you imagine how unhappy he must be? He was saying this in the context of Kashmiris, how you've made him come to a conclusion that his life is not worth living. I mean, this sounds nice, this rhetoric. It's like Osama bin Laden saying after 9/11, you live for life, we live for death. I mean, this is all terrorist rhetoric. If you look at this guy, he was not suffering. He had nothing really to do with that. I remember Tony Blair saying about the people who attacked the tubes in London, the 7/7 bombers, I think they were called. He said these were guys who grew up in England in the British educational system, had the advantages offered by Britain, including the welfare state, free education, etc., and yet they tried to destroy the system that had helped them. There is no logic to such people. And I'm inclined to agree with Blair. I don't think terrorists are necessarily people who've suffered or people who have no choice. Often they're nutters. There are people who like damaging other people. There are people who like thinking of themselves as being glorious warriors for some kind of religious battle against injustice. You can't really apply the noble rules to them, nor can you say, poor chaps, they've been driven to it. So let's forget all this stuff. The guy is a nutter. The video shows us he's a nutter. Let's be content with that. And there's one other thing which I think is a point worth making. It always saddens me that Indian Muslims are expected in the aftermath of every terrorist attack to come out and say, we condemn this is terrible, we hate terrorism. Yeah, well, of course they hate terrorism, don't you? All Indians hate terrorism. There's something about the environment and the atmosphere where Indian Muslims feel compelled to speak out and prove their patriotism, effectively not to other Muslims, but to Hindus, to say that, don't worry, we're as Indian as you are, we are patriotic. That's nonsense. We shouldn't generalize from the actions of some nutters what a whole community is like, and most sensible people would accept that. But this time there was one tweet and one school of thought I think that pleased me, and that was Asauddin Owaisi tweeted to say that suicide is haram in Islam. If you look at everything in the history of Islam, from the Prophet onwards, they have always looked down on people who commit suicide. It's not a great and glorious thing to do. So the terrorists who are aware of this get around this by claiming that these people are shaheeds, they're martyrs, they're not actually suicide bombers. Terrorists hate the term suicide being used. But are they martyrs? I mean, if you look at the classic Islamic definition, they're not martyrs in any religious sense. And if you look at this guy, he's not a martyr to any cause except perhaps for his own glory and his own madness. So let's not accept this business of them being martyrs. Also, let's not fall for the Hindu fundamentalist trap of thinking that suicide bombing is part of some Muslim tradition. It's not. The first suicide bombers in South Asia, the first ones you and I heard about, were Hindus. They were the LTT. They were the ones who brought suicide bombing to South Asia. This Islamist suicide bombing is a relatively recent trend. Nobody said it's a Hindu dogma. Nobody should say it's a Muslim dogma. These are individuals using means to achieve political ends. A suicide bombing is not a religious act. It's a political, violent act. As long as we remember that, and as long as we don't use it to come to general conclusions, then I don't think we should suppress videos. I don't think we should worry about people being inspired or radicalized or whatever. It's always a difficult balance in choosing between free speech and transparency and fighting crime and terrorism. But on the whole, I think as a society, we should err on the side of transparency. In this day and age, if you're not transparent, it's very difficult with technology to keep anything secret. Everything gets out. It's not a good idea, I think, to be so keen on suppressing things, on censoring things, on looking forward and imagining that young Muslims will get radicalized because they see this guy's video. They won't. The ones who are going to get radicalized will get radicalized anyway. It won't be this video, it'll be something else. We should fight terrorism like that. And there are ways of fighting terrorism, but suppression of information is not one of them.